new study finds the chances of football players developing the brain disease CTE isn't just about the number of impacts to the head, but the combined force of those hits over a career also plays an important role. Let's bring in Dr. Daneshvar. He's the lead author of this study and an assistant professor at Harvard Medical School. Doctor, thanks for joining us. Talk to us about the key findings of this study.
Yeah, so basically, we know that repeated hits to the head cause problems later in life, including the neurodegenerative disease, CTE. But there's a lot of different aspects of hits to the head that could have been responsible. There's been a lot of focus in sports leagues about concussions, and that's a specific kind of hit to the head that results in symptoms. Other people have talked about the number of hits, but what we found in this study is that it wasn't concussion, and it wasn't just the number of hits, but it was the total force that a person experienced over their entire life that put them at risk for developing CTE.
So the thing about CTE is you can't diagnose until you get a chance to look at the brain, which is after somebody has passed away. So how were you able to come to these conclusions?
Yeah, that was a really interesting part of the study because you're absolutely right. We can't diagnose the disease until someone passes away. And oftentimes their exposure, their repeated hits to the head that they got, happened years, decades earlier. And so what we did is we took helmet sensor data aggregated over the last 20 years, so over 6 million impacts to the head. And we stratified them based on the positions people played and the levels they played, right? Because a quarterback who plays in high school is getting very different kinds of hits characteristically than, say, a college running back. And so we were able to then project that data over the past 20 years onto the people who played in the past. So we were able to say, for example, I played 2 years as a youth lineman and 2 years as a linebacker in high school. And so we were able to determine my total G-force that I might have been exposed to based on those levels and positions and years, and determine which models best predicted who had the pathology later.
That's fascinating.
So the question, of course, becomes, based off of this study and others that have been done before it, would you recommend football to parents who have children who are interested in playing this sport?
Well, I think that this study provides a game plan for how we can prevent CTE. Again, almost every sports league at this point has set up a concussion prevention protocol to prevent concussions. But we know that concussions don't tell the entire story, especially from this study. So what we can do, for example, is limit the amount of G-force that athletes are exposed to in really simple ways. Like, for example, we know that over half of the impacts that athletes experience occur in practice. It's about 2/3 of them. And based on the data from this study, for an average, say, offensive lineman, if we cut out half of the impacts that they experience in practice, we can reduce their risk of CTE by over 50%. We also know that the hardest 10% of impacts are responsible for the most G-force. So if we can eliminate that hardest 10% just by eliminating needless and unnecessary drills that are still unfortunately being done in a lot of youth leagues, we could potentially eliminate 20% of CTE risk, 1 in 5 chance of CTE risk, just by cutting out those 10% of hits.
And we should say, yeah, this study is focused on football players, but there are other sports where athletes are at risk as well. So when it comes to CTE, where does our knowledge stand? Are we any closer to maybe developing a test that doesn't require, the brain to be physically looked at?
Yeah, so for any neurodegenerative disease, you really need to have the brain to know for sure whether or not someone has that disease. So, for example, if one of our loved ones get diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, they're actually only being diagnosed with possible Alzheimer's disease or probable Alzheimer's disease. But a lot of these neurodegenerative diseases can overlap. They look similar in life. And really, the pathology after someone passes away is the only way to know for sure. Now, there are some biomarkers, both for those other diseases and some up-and-coming ones for CTE. But what we're working on most, I think, and I think the most promising, is working on that possible and probable diagnosis based on how someone clinically looks. And I think we proposed some diagnostic criteria that were published in 2021 that we're now doing some additional analyses on. Those are only for research purposes at this point, but they're looking very promising.
And then, I don't know if you're this is even your area, but what about treatment? What if there is a suspected case? Are we making any headway there?
Yeah, that's a really important question. So thank you for asking. We know that the patients that come in to see me in clinic that are having problems, we don't know whether or not they have CTE, but what we do know is that we can treat them. that they get better with treatment. And the treatments are things that are low-hanging fruit, easy options. Things like making sure that sleep apnea it interferes with someone's ability to clear toxic neurometabolites from the brain, and it's responsible for Alzheimer's disease and responsible for development of Parkinson's disease or exacerbation of these processes. It also is likely responsible for CTE. And when I treat people's sleep apnea, they get better. There are other things like that that we can do to help people who are concerned that they might have CTE, whether or not we know they have the disease process.
Wow. Dr. Daniel Daneshvar, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.